And look at the opportunities for greatness for America. Really. Right now, there's a genocide going on in Western Sudan. That's what this bracelet is that I have on. Western Sudan and Darfur. Hundreds of thousands of people have been killed at the hands of the Janjaweed militia. The Janjaweed militia supported by the Sudanese government. The Sudanese government propped up by the Chinese, buying oil from Sudan. And America declared this a genocide. That's great. What have we done about it? What have we done? We said after Rwanda, we'll never let this happen again. Some of you remember the phrase, not on our watch? There's a genocide going on our watch, right in front of us right now. Where is the United States of America? Where are we? There are thousands of children who will be born, not tomorrow, today, in Africa with AIDS, simply because their mother can't afford a $4 dose of medicine. How can the richest nation on the planet stand by and watch that happen? How can we let that happen? Poverty in America, which I'm going to say something about, as I've spent a lot of time on it over the last couple of years. Poverty in America is actually very mild compared to poverty around the world. And I know all of you know this already. But I had a personal experience. I went to spent some time in the slums outside of Delhi about a year ago, actually, a little over a year ago. And the things I saw there made it hard for me to sleep, honestly. I mean, the conditions in which people live. You know, you walk down these little alleys and there's open sewage and animals everywhere, and people literally stacked into these rooms that go up on each side. And finally I came up on this little opening, and it was about the size of this roped off area right here in the middle. And there were these 4 blankets on the pavement, the broken pavement, and there were kids sitting on each blanket. And it was the same kind of conditions. There was sewage everywhere, flies, animals. And finally, I figured out these children were in school. This was their school. And I walked out of there, and all I could think to myself is, where is my country? Where is America? And we can't solve these problems by ourselves. I don't think that for a second. That's something else that's been proven in the last 6 years. But what we can do is we can lead others to the cause. And we have to demonstrate to the world that we are willing to do things because they're in the best interests of humanity. We need to demonstrate to the world that we're willing to do things that don't appear to be in our own short-term strategic interests. But I'm here to tell you, they're in our long-term strategic interests, and they're very much in the long-term strategic interests of the world. And it's not, by the way, just what we can do over there. We should be the example for the world. I talk about moral issues. Let me talk about another huge moral issue, global warming. And America should be leading on global warming. And those Americans who think, well, this is something for later, you know, maybe my grandchildren will have to worry about that, but I don't have to worry about it. Anybody who can hear my voice in this room, if you're under the age of 60 and we don't change, there's a great chance that you're going to be affected by global warming. We can't continue on this course that we're on right now. We just can't. We can't continue to be our addiction to oil. We got to make a real change toward what I would call a new energy economy in America, where we actually strengthen the American economy by investing in, you know, wind and solar and biofuels, and by asking America to be patriotic about something other than war. By saying to America, we ask you for your country to be willing to conserve. We have a health care system that's dysfunctional by any measure. I had a mom who's in this room somewhere, who's a supporter of mine, a great friend, and has a son who has some challenges. And she was telling me that her health insurance premium has gone from $1,000 to $2,000 a month since she met me just 3-4 years ago. And she said, how can I continue to pay this? How can I possibly continue to pay it? And she's just like millions of Americans all over the country. You know, we got 46, 47 million people who have no health care coverage. Listen, the answer's simple. We need universal health care in America. It's what will make America better and stronger. Last issue, and then because I want to start taking questions. Last issue I want to mention to you is one that's personal to me. I'd love to get as many of you engaged in it as I can. I understand that it's not on a lot of people's radar screen, but I don't think it's okay that we have 37 million people who wake up in poverty every day in America. Not in the richest nation on the planet. And there are things we can do. For any of you who don't know, I've been running a poverty center at the University of North Carolina for the last couple of years, and we've had the best people in America. In fact, we've got a book coming out this spring laying out some new ideas about fighting poverty. But some of it's not rocket science. We can do things like, I mentioned this earlier, raise the minimum wage, organize workers so that they earn a decent wage, organize them into unions, do something about our dysfunctional housing policy in America that concentrates poor people together. How long is it going to take us to figure out that we can't continue to do that? To help people to be able to save, to give kids access to college, to deal with some of the, I think, the more difficult issues around poverty, things that politicians, for some reason, well, I know the reason, don't like to talk about because they're a little bit red hot. And I'm talking about the societal and cultural components of poverty. You know, you go to community centers all across the country. I've been in a bunch of them right here in New Hampshire. And when you meet a 14 or 15-year-old girl who's having her third child, the odds are overwhelming that her and her children are going to live in poverty. When you meet a young African-American man who believes in the inner city, who believes with certainty that he is either going to die or go to prison, he has absolutely no reason to invest in his future. We have to help. We have to restore hope for that young woman and for that young man. And I'll be honest with you, there is a role for the government. My view is there's a bigger role for local institutions, local community action groups, because that's where the real work's being done. A lot of it's being done by faith-based groups, by charitable groups. But I've seen, like in Connecticut, I saw an extraordinary program that's being used to help teenage pregnancy. Basically, it's a mentoring program. It had a huge impact. I've seen exactly the same thing with young African-American men. Here's the bottom line. You know, if your church wants to add on, wants to build a new church, you don't say to your pastor, go let us know when it's over. You don't say to your minister, let us know when you finish the construction. If somebody in your community out in rural New Hampshire, or in my case, rural North Carolina, wants to raise a barn, we don't say, well, we'll watch you from the sidelines. That's not America. That's not who we are. We do things together. And I'm here to tell you, we can't continue to hope somebody else is going to do this for us. We have to do it. All of us, starting today. God bless you all. Thank you for being here.